Right. She's just practicing her succeeding. Anyway, people can't just get enough of that, right? They just can't get enough of that. 'Cause the way I had to roll out the box saga. All right, so here we go for Maaike. All right, so with my it's tarot runes, and then I've got my little additionals here that kind of flavor the tarot rune reading itself. Which I kick things off with an I Ching, then we go with an animal spirit before we jump into the reading, and then there's Whispering Woods at the end of the reading. So, you've got hexagram. I love how they're called hexagrams, just like the ringlands of the Bach Saga are hexagrams. But hexagram 58, the opening. Creative success, and that the constancy shall bear fruit. So, opening brings people together and begins a lively creative process of sharing and exchange. It liberates human energies, motivates people to overcome hardships, and encourages perseverance. It means joyful and outgoing expression that opens up communication. How can you fully enjoy the moment? What are you bringing to expression? What if you communicated and exchanged more freely? So there's a theme of like, in a runic sense, this is basically saying, like, have an open dialogue in Gebo, right? You're kind of doing like a Gebo kind of thing, right? You could say Manaz is in there too, because Manaz is kind of like the two runes of joy mirroring each other, which then also has that correspondent relationship as such. You know, so those are a few things that come to mind as thematic. So then our next theme here is our animal/elemental spirit. And we have the air elemental of the masked owl. This is the masked owl. So this air elemental, its qualities are insight, wisdom, foresight, and messenger. And then naturally, as an owl, it's going to have its correspondences to goddesses like Athena, and so on and so forth. So, as one would expect on the Greyhorn Pagans podcast, you've been called a Dionysian cult. You say corrupted. I say liberated. Dionysian cults. Yeah. Dionysus is Dionysus seems like a lot of fun in moderation, I suppose. Okay, so we're going to kick things off, and obviously, because I hope I'm going to, do a handful of these as we progress through the rest of this hour or so. Going to do my basic 4-point spread. Focus, a past, present, and future, or Verdandi and Skuld, which I don't equate precisely as past, present, and future. It's much more energetically shifting than that. So in our focus position, this is once again another correspondences with our 58 here. So we have the 6 of arrows, which is transition, right? And so this one, it predicts, or depicts, that 6 of arrows on a swan ship with, your Odin-like cloaked figure at the helm. So there's the absolute implication of, like, the river Styx, if you will, crossing over. I think in the Norse, I think in the more Vanir way of things, I think the river Van is probably going to be, like, the great river of transition to the other world, I would imagine. Because I can't really think of an equivalent river Styx, other than if we're counting the Odin trolling his son at the riverbed. That might count also. Granted, that's a comical play. So with our transition that is in focus here, and well, would you look at that? And so Manhaz does come up anyway. So this transition is a big part of a mental. It's a whole mind shift, right? You're really moving from one state of mind to another state of mind, possibly surrounding yourself by other like-minded people, because there's a sense of mankind in the Manaz rune, right? And so it's your mind, and it's people of like mind that you are transitioning from the people you used to have cognitive association with to new friends, new cognitive associations. I've been through this process a few times in my life. So then, what is the Earth? What's our origin of this transition process occurring? We have the Page of Bows, which is represented by a stout. The Page of Bows, right? The bows. This is the fire. This is the wands, right? So this came about. The pages are students, effectively. They're younglings. They're adolescences. That, you know, it's about the fact that they still have a lot to learn, a lot to develop, and a lot to grow as a person, right? So this is the product of you, kind of, you know, you're playing with fire, right? In a good way, right? Through your process of learning to work with your will, your mind has gone through this deep transitional process. And these studies that you've gone under, I have drawn Yonga. Yonga is not a rune. Yonga is something I put in here amongst the runes. It is one of my personal symbols in a reading. It just means to be emphasized in the reading if it's to pop up at all. It's got just emphasis. That's the simplest way. If any further significance gets pulled forth in the reading, I'll let you know. But the actual rune that we're going to have here is, okay, we have got Burkana. We've got Burkana, and it's Merkstave. So it's reversed, too. So here's a point of energetic contention to be resolved also, right? So you're in transition, but also you are struggling to make something of your transition. You don't quite have a grasp on the full becoming that you are looking for, right? Because Burkana is a birthing rune, right? So you are kind of in search for the new you that's going to emerge on the other side of this transition. So, Verdandi, what is the worth of this transition that you find yourself in? So we've got the stag reversed. The stag looks like a Sami shaman with a drum and an axe, and it's coming up reversed. It's the 8 in the major arcana. This is the equivalency of our strength card before we go into the hermiting, right? So you are at the moment not able to grasp your strength in the transition. The transition is maybe making you feel weaker because of the depths of its challenge, right? And you may be experiencing what feels like a little bit of a defeat, and you're still looking for that inner strength to claim the prize. Because when I see this card pop up, despite how it looks like a shaman and all that, because it's in that strength position, and because the prior card is basically the hunter to represent the chariot card, right? This is the stag is what you're hunting, right? This is the prize of the great hunt that you are looking for is the white stag, right? Everybody gets that augury, you know, especially if you were a fan of C.S. Lewis, as the white stag is predominant at the end of Lion the Witch in the Wardrobe before they transition back to the real world after they had spent years growing up in Narnia, then to be reverted back to children. So, our energies in this circumstance, okay, we have Othal. We have Othal in Merkstave, Othal reversed, right? So this transition period, even though, you know, your transition may also involve like your very surroundings becoming less familiar to you, and you don't feel like you've got the developable sanctuary for the continued cultivation of the work that you are doing, you need to move into that, right? You need to tap into that mind space that you are already overall embracing, and realizing that space in your mind is going to manifest as that space in your home or workplace. Then for the last position in the reading, for our skuld, which is what kind of choices, what kind of decisions should occur as a result of these things. So we've got 10 of arrows reverse, which is instruction. As you can see, Grandpa's teaching the squirt how to shoot straight, right? So he's the instructor, and that's the 10 of arrows, which is when your mind has come to the mastery of things, right? A 10-pointed version of the same standard that is on our transition ship is also present here. Now, the instruction card, this 10 of arrows, is popped up in reverse. So, you're basically taking what you have learned from where this whole transition is coming from, right? What you've learned through the exercise of your will has to come into that. You have to find that place of sanctuary to cultivate it, so that way you can find your achievement, that stag, right? The power of that achievement within you. And then from there, this is going to unlock a mastery of something in your mind. If you don't get these things straightened out, you're going to not be learned properly on it and couldn't teach it. But it's something that you're meant to know as something that you also can bestow upon others. And you've got ansus here, right? And so you're combining ansus with this 10 of arrows with instruction. That's really powerful. The mind, so you've got all this powerful stuff happening in the mind, right? And you've got this owl. You've got this owl as your guiding spirit, which, it becomes almost self-evident with insight, wisdom, force, messenger. Ansus is the messenger rune, right? And so with everything else associated with the owl, that brings all of this together. And then your reflective thoughts upon this reading from our Whispering Woods is to be resilient. Resiliency, to stay as strong as the evergreen trees. So that is a short and brief reading for Maaike. Maaike, if she has any input, reaction, or anything that she'd like to say about this reading that was for her. This is about transitioning through the opening that's occurred to you, to cultivate your will, to find your strength, and to learn how to teach that to other